Welcome to Odd PA. It's UrbSpin Legends! Welcome to UrbSpin Legends. Spin the wheel, learn the legend, and complete the legend log. Or you can at least try to. Now, spin the wheel!
Hello and welcome to UrbSpin Legends. I'm Dakota, and in front of me is the Wheel of Whispers, for lack of a better name. Now this episode I've added the Loveland Frogman, so let's go ahead and spin it and see what we get. And again, this wheel is full of different legends, cryptids, spooky sleepover games, and anything else I could think of. And whatever it lands on, that's what we'll be looking into. Alright, the Wampahoofus. I know a little bit about this guy, so let's see what we can find. This cryptid, hands down, has the best name I've ever heard of. Its title alone gets people curious. Once again, I'll be using the curiosity that is the internet to help complete this entry's legend log. With all that being said, this is what I was able to find out about the fascinating Wampahoofus. Many animals have gone extinct throughout history. Dodos, the woolly mammoth, saber-toothed cats, and many more. But none of them come close to the oddity that is the Wampahoofus. The Wampahoofus goes by many names. Another common name would be the Side-Hill Gouger, but other nicknames include
Side-Hill Galoot,
Side-Hill Loper,
Yoshidus,
Goodafro, Hunkus,
For simplicity's sake,
Wampus,
Rickaboo Racker,
Boofa,
for simplicity's
the
sake,
Side-Hill Oozal,
Side-Hill Dodger,
for
Buttercuss,
Side-Hill Hoofer,
Side-Hill Gouchy.
my god. Alright, but for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna refer to it as the Wampahoofus. First spotted on Mount Mansfield in the 1800s, the Wampahoofus is said to resemble a hybrid of different animals. Some say it resembled a deer-goat-bear hybrid. Others say it resembled more of a pangolin-human-bear hybrid. Either way, descriptions of this animal are pretty vague. The one thing that is agreed upon by everyone is its legs. Due to evolutionary adaptation to the mountainous habitat, the legs of a Wampahoofus are asymmetrical in length. Having uneven legs was said to be easier to traverse through the mountain and hillside terrain. Some people speculate that the side of the body that would be shorter than the other depended on the sex of the animal, males having shorter right legs and females having shorter left legs, although others speculated that the shorter side was at random and did not determine the sex. Wampahoofus are only able to walk either clockwise or counterclockwise depending on which side of the body has the shortened legs, making them unable to change direction or turn around. If a Wampahoofus tried turning around or changing its path, it would fall off the steep mountainside. So what happens when a clockwise traveling Wampahoofus encounters a counterclockwise traveling Wampahoofus? They fight, or well, I'll circle back around to that. Only being able to move in one direction would be annoying enough as is. Having an obstacle in your way that can only move in the opposite direction as you would be even worse. The Wampahoofus would quite literally battle to the death in order to get past one another. The stronger one wins and gets to continue its path, while the weaker one either loses its life or its footing and falls down the steep mountainside. Then it loses its life. The only time that fighting wouldn't occur is if it happened to be mating season. During this time, the Wampahoofus were said to mate when they crossed paths, continuing their legacy. That was until evolutionary adaptation caused their own demise. Generations over time would begin to have their short side become even shorter. Eventually, their sides became so short that they were incapable of mating, which was said to result in the extinction of the Wampahoofus. There have been plenty of instances where animals that had thought to have been extinct have been found. The Wampahoofus could be next. If you're interested in searching for them yourself, the best place to look is on the Wampahoofus Trail on Mount Mansfield in Vermont. Just make sure that if you encounter one, move out of their way. because you know they're not going to move out of yours. And that concludes the legend of the Wampahoofus. I wonder how many times I've said that name so far. Here's a look at the legend log. For the danger rating, unless you're a Wampahoofus moving in the opposite direction, I'm going to give this one a 1. I think they should be fairly easy to avoid, and going around them should easily keep you safe. Now, do I believe this legend to be real? I'm actually going to go with a yes for this one. I could see this animal existing centuries ago, or at least something very similar to it. If you ever find yourself on the Wampahoofus trail, make sure to keep an eye out, just in case.
Our PA will return.
The newest product in Odd PA's Ghoul line. There's tons of different ghouls you could attract. Don't wait to call. We all know that ghouls hate waiting.
Now, for Odd PA.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Wheel of Whispers. If you're just joining us, I have no idea how you did that because this should be mid-episode. Anyways, I've added the spook light this episode. Don't know what that is, but let's spin it and see what we get. I'm hoping for something good, something easy, but I never know what's going to come up with these guys. So we have the Dover Demon. Okay. I've read about this, but I do not remember anything, so let's find out together. If I were to name off a few of the most popular cryptids, the Dover Demon would be one you've most likely heard of. But maybe you don't know too much about it. That was my case anyways. This was one of those cryptids that I'd hear about every once in a while, and I'd look into, but I'd always have a hard time remembering what it was. It was like I couldn't keep a face to the name. I'm glad I landed on this one, so hopefully I can force myself to remember it. As always, I'll be using some of the information that I find to help fill out this entry's legend log. With that out of the way, here's what I was able to find out about the Dover Demon. On the night of April 21st, 1977, a 17-year-old boy named William Bill Bartlett was driving in the town of Dover, Massachusetts, with two of his friends. While on the road, Bartlett, being the driver, noticed something walking along an old stone wall beside the road. At first, Bartlett assumed it was an animal of some kind, as it was on all fours. Once he began to focus on the animal, he realized that he wasn't looking at a dog, or a cat, or even an animal that he had seen before. What Bartlett had seen, based off of his description, was a 4-foot-tall creature with a large head and a small stick-like body with long limbs. Its skin was a rosy tan color that looked similar to sandpaper. The creature had only large orange-colored eyes that stared back at Bartlett as it stood on top of the stone wall. Bartlett immediately asked his friends if they had also seen what he had witnessed. Neither of the other two boys had seen the creature. After dropping his friends off, Bartlett returns to his home and after talking to his father about it, sketches what he had seen. Around midnight of that same night, a 15-year-old named John Baxter had a similar incident. Leaving his girlfriend's house for the night, Baxter begins his walk home. Around half an hour into his walk, he notices a figure in the distance walking towards him. At first, Baxter believes it's one of his friends, as the figure he sees is a similar height to one of his friends. As the two walk closer to one another, Baxter calls out to the figure to see if it was who he thought it had been. He gets no response. Finally, the figure stops walking towards Baxter. Baxter does the same. He calls out once more and again gets no response. Baxter decides to take a step closer. As soon as that step was taken, the figure ran off into the wooded gully nearby. Baxter decides to follow the sounds of the figure as it runs away. He then stops not too far into the area, as he can see that standing about 30 feet away, across the gully, was the same creature that 17-year-old Bartlett had seen just hours ago. The creature was staring back at him. Baxter starts to feel uneasy as he tries to come to terms with what he was seeing. He begins to back away and walks with haste back to the road he was previously walking on. A couple driving on the road had stopped and picked up Baxter and gave him a ride to his house. Following night, 15-year-old Abby Brabham also had witnessed the same creature on the side of the road while in the car with another person. The only real difference here is that Brabham states that the creature's eyes were illuminating a green color rather than the orange color that the other two witnesses described. All three of the witnesses drew sketches of the creature, with Bartlett writing on his sketch,
I, Bill Bartlett, swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw this creature.
He was serious about what he saw. What's really interesting is that all three of the locations where the sightings had taken place seemed to create a straight line a little over 2 miles long. It was as if the witnesses had intersected the creature's path and not that the creature had gone out of its way to be seen. Because of the creature's glowing eyes and unusual appearance, locals of the town of Dover referred to it as a demon. Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman had actually coined the Dover demon term. Thus, the legend of the Dover demon was born. Although I couldn't find much more on sightings outside of those 2 days, so it's possible that the legend of the Dover demon died that day as well. This legend really reminds me of a time a few years ago when my friend Jake called me late at night in a panic. He said that he had seen something run across the road. Let me see if I can get his side of the story. I feel like I remember the phone call, and I remember answering it, and it was late, and I was like, this can't be good.
The thing that kind of set off that alarm in my brain is that it looked like it was standing on its hind legs. Like it looked like it was standing up. I didn't hit anything though.
Right.
And there was no mark. I checked my front bumper the next morning. So I think as soon as I got out of the car, I waited in the car for a little while.
Yeah, I think that's when you called me afterwards. I remember my heart like sinking as soon as like it was just the way your voice sounded before you even said much.
Like it was looking at me. It wasn't looking at the car. It wasn't looking at the headlights. It wasn't like. But then as
you think back and
I think back and I was like, it wasn't standing correctly. It was.
And that concludes the legend of the Dover Demon. Hopefully now I'll be fully able to remember this legend. Someone ask me about the Dover Demon in a few years and see what I say. Anyway, here's a look at the legend log. For the danger rating, I'm going to give this one a half moo. Out of all the witnesses' stories, the Dover Demon seems to just want to do its own thing and run away if somebody gets too close. But honestly, who knows what would happen if it got cornered. Now, do I believe this legend to be real? I'm going to say no on this one. The main thing that keeps coming back to me is that the witnesses all seem to be young teenagers that live around the same area. Not to say that teenagers are totally untrustworthy, it's just that I could see some teens being bored and wanting to scare up their friends or their town. Personally, if these witness statements came from adults that had things to lose, I'd be more likely to believe the overall story. You know, the Dover Demon has been real quiet since the invention of dash cams.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I thank you. Don't say I hope your evening has been delightfully.
Does it not strike you as being rather